There's a very specific category of ghost story that really has nothing to do with haunted houses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't happen at midnight. It doesn't involve rattling chains or cold spots in the hallway.
Right.
It happens at like 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday while you're in the produce aisle of the grocery store or just sitting in traffic.
The sensory ambush.
Exactly, the sensory ambush. It's that moment where the physical world, so maybe a sound or a smell or just a sudden shift in the weather, it just conspires to pull the rug completely out from under you.
Yeah, it's wild how that works.
You're fine 1 minute, functioning perfectly, and then you catch a whiff of wood smoke or you hear a car door slam a certain way, and suddenly you are not in the grocery store anymore.
You're 10 years in the past.
Exactly.
It's fascinating because it bypasses the logical brain entirely. It's just a direct line straight to the amygdala.
Yeah.
You don't ask for the memory. The environment just forces it on you. It's highly invasive.
And usually when we talk about grief or loss or these invasive memories, we picture stillness.
We do, yeah.
We picture someone sitting in a dark room staring at a wall. Total silence.
Right, the classic cinematic depiction of sadness.
But the document we're looking at today suggests something entirely different. It suggests that loss actually has a rhythm.
It has a beat.
Yeah.
And sometimes that beat is remarkably and uncomfortably steady.
So today we are doing a deep dive into a very specific artifact. We aren't listening to a recording today. We're actually analyzing a primary source document.
Which is a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lyric sheet for a song titled Rhythm of the Breeze.
Which is a really unique way to approach music analysis. Usually you just let the melody wash over you, you know?
Right.
But by looking at the sheet, the schematic essentially, we can see exactly how the writer engineered a very specific emotional state.
We're going to treat this like a literal blueprint for heartbreak. So let's unpack the metadata first. We are looking at a sheet credited to a writer named Misti Flowers.
Okay.
And the date on it is November 2010.
Which definitely puts us in a specific era of songwriting. This is pre-streaming dominance. It's still very much focused on that tight radio play structure.
And the genre listed right at the top is country. Now, I want to pause on that tag for a second.
Sure.
Because if you tell the average listener, hey, I have a country song about a breakup and the weather, they probably think they know exactly what that sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. The stereotype is incredibly strong there.
Right.
They imagine a steel guitar weeping in the background, maybe a slow waltz, someone sitting at a neon-lit dive bar just staring into a whiskey glass.
Exactly. It's usually low and slow.
Very slow.
But then you look at the technical specs at the top of this sheet, and that stereotypical image just completely falls apart.
It shatters. It's the very first thing that jumped out at me when I reviewed the document. If you look at the tempo line, it says 106 BPM.
106 beats per minute. For the listeners who aren't musicians or DJs, put that in context for us.
Okay, so if I'm writing a standard tearjerker, a real, my dog died and my truck broke down kind of ballad, where am I usually sitting tempo-wise? You're usually down in the 60s or 70s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's near a resting heart rate. It's the literal pulse of someone sitting still, engaging in deep contemplation or crying.
But 106.
106 is not sitting. That is a brisk walk.
It's practically a pop tempo.
It really is. It's catchy. If you tap your foot to 106, you are moving. You're bobbing your head. And that creates this immediate, deeply jarring cognitive dissonance right out of the gate.
Because the genre tag says heartbreak.
But the speedometer says, let's go.
Which I think is our first major insight here. This isn't a song about the depression phase of grief where you literally can't get out of bed. This is what I'd call functional grief.
Oh, that is a perfect term for it. Functional grief.
Yeah.
You're up. You're moving. You're getting things done. The world is moving at 106 beats per minute. So we're talking meetings, traffic, running errands, and you just have to keep up.
But internally.
Internally, you're somewhere else entirely.
Yeah. And check the key signature listed right next to the tempo. B flat.
B flat major.
Major key. So again, we aren't in some moody minor key. B flat is often associated with, well, it's a brass key.
Right.
It's usually bright. It sounds sturdy.
It is definitely not inherently weepy. So Misti Flowers has essentially set a trap here.
She really has.
She gives us a walking tempo and a sturdy, bright key. She's setting us up for a nice mid-tempo drive with the windows down. It feels incredibly safe.
And then she drops verse 1.
And verse 1 is where the narrator immediately picks a fight with the calendar.
Huh. Yeah, they really do. It starts with this total rejection of the standard poetic timeline regarding the seasons.
Okay, so the lyrics are, I've never cared for autumn, it meant winter's on the way.
So that part is fairly standard.
Right. Autumn represents decay, the falling leaves. Winter represents death or dormancy. So the narrator is saying, I don't like the end of things.
Which completely fits the human condition. Most of us get a little sad when the days get shorter.
Exactly.
But then comes the twist.
Yeah.
Because usually spring is the hero of the story. Spring is redemption. It's rebirth.
It's Bambi.
Yes, it's Bambi. Hope springs eternal. Culturally, spring is the happy ending when all the color comes back to the world.
Not here, though. The narrator says, spring was my favorite till you left that rainy day.
And there it is.
That is the seasonal reversal. The narrator has been traumatized by the season of life.
Yeah.
By anchoring the loss to a rainy day in spring, the writer has essentially corrupted the one time of year that is supposed to offer hope.
It feels like a betrayal. The whole world is saying, wake up, be happy, the sun is shining, and the narrator is saying, absolutely not.
And think about how incredibly isolating that is.
Oh, for sure.
If you lose someone in winter, the world kind of matches your mood. It's cold and gray and dead. You feel somewhat in sync with the environment.
Right.
But losing someone in spring, the world is actively mocking you with its aliveness. The flowers are blooming, birds are chirping, and it just constantly highlights exactly what you've lost.
It's cruel optimism in weather form. And that leads perfectly into this physical sensation described in the next lines. The lyric is, I shouldn't let it get to me, but my heart won't sit at ease.
Won't sit at ease. I actually circled that exact phrase on the sheet.
Why that one specifically? Seems like a pretty common expression.
Because in this specific context, it's not just an emotional description. It is a physiological one.
Oh, exactly.
It goes right back to that 106 BPM we were talking about. Won't sit at ease means the heart is racing. It's palpitating. It is the literal physical manifestation of anxiety.
It's that feeling where your brain is telling you, hey, pull it together. It's just a Tuesday. You're just walking down the street. But your chest is incredibly tight.
Precisely. It's the body betraying the logic. The
Right.
narrator explicitly knows they shouldn't let it get to them. That is the rational brain speaking.
Right.
But the heart is on its own rhythm. It's reacting to a threat that the eyes can't even see.
And why is the heart racing? We get the answer in the transition right into the chorus. Because you keep calling me through the rhythm of the breeze.
There's the title drop.
Yeah.
But notice the agency in that line. You keep calling me.
It's very active.
It is entirely active. The person who is gone isn't passive in this memory. They aren't just a dusty picture on a shelf. They are doing something to the narrator. They are reaching out.
Let's move into the chorus then, because this is where the imagery shifts from just being sad to something almost hallucinogenic.
It really does.
The chorus is framed as a direct question to the dead. What are you calling me through the rhythm of the breeze?
And then we get the specific description of the weather. A steady beat and easy flow brings back your memory.
Steady beat and easy flow. Let's unpack that for a second.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Because if I told you to describe a haunted wind or a wind that signifies bad news, you would probably describe a howling gale, right?
Oh, definitely. Windows rattling.
Yeah.
The Wizard of Oz, tornado kind of weather.
Wuthering Heights style. Stormy, violent, destructive.
But this wind is a steady beat. It's easy.
Which, honestly, in my opinion, makes it so much more inescapable.
How so?
Well, you can hide from a storm. You go to the basement. You board up the windows and wait it out. A storm eventually ends. But a gentle, steady breeze,
I see.
that is omnipresent. It permeates everything. You can't build a shelter against nice day.
That is a genuinely terrifying thought. The nice day is the trigger. You can't run from pleasant weather.
You really can't. And look at the next line. This is the big aha moment for the setting. I can feel you breathe as it gently blows through the budding leaves.
Budding leaves. So we are 100% definitely in spring.
We are in the exact moment of potential. The leaves are just opening up.
But look at the sensory crossover happening there. I can feel you breathe.
That line stopped me cold when I first read the sheet.
Right.
Because saying, I hear your voice in the wind is a massive cliche. We have all heard that in 1,000 different country songs.
Easily.
But I can feel you breathe. That is intensely tactile. That implies direct skin contact.
It's essentially synesthesia caused by grief. The narrator is feeling the literal air moving across their skin, maybe on the back of their neck or across their face, and their traumatized brain is interpreting that physical sensation not as wind, but as the actual respiration of the person they lost.
That is incredibly intimate. And honestly, also incredibly disturbing.
It completely dissolves the boundary between the narrator and the environment. The wind actually is the person. It's not just a subtle reminder, it's a full-on visitation.
So if you're walking along at 106 BPM just trying to get to work, and suddenly a soft breeze hits the back of your neck.
You aren't just remembering them, you are physically feeling them standing right next to you.
Wow.
That is exactly why the heart won't sit at ease. It is a literal fight-or-flight response to a ghost.
It really turns the song from a standard breakup ballad into a ghost story.
It does.
But a ghost story that takes place entirely in the bright sunshine.
Which is always the scariest kind of ghost story.
Always. Let's look at verse 2 now, because here is where we get inside the narrator's head a little bit more. The narrator tries to wrestle back some control here. They try to force themselves back to that rational headspace.
They do. They start with a major concession. I know I'll have to let you go and face reality.
They know the script. This is what their therapist or their well-meaning friends have been telling them for months. You gotta let go. You have to face reality. Just move on.
But then comes the confession, and I really think this is the single most honest line in the entire song. Goodbye was never a strength of mine. I need the company.
I need the company. That line is devastating.
It completely flips the script of the first verse.
How do you mean?
Well, in the first verse, the calling felt like a totally unwanted intrusion. Like, why are you doing this to me? Why won't my heart sit at ease? It sounded like they were being actively tormented by this ghost.
Right. They wanted it to stop.
But here in verse 2, they admit the hard truth. They actually need it.
It's the central paradox of mourning. You desperately want the pain to stop, but the pain is the only real link you have left to the person.
Exactly. If the wind stops blowing, if that calling finally stops, then the person is truly finally gone. Silence is the real enemy here.
So the narrator is actually hoarding the pain. They're keeping the ghost around because the alternative is absolute crushing solitude.
I need the company. It implies they are lonely in a way that other living people simply cannot fix. They actively prefer the company of the wind ghost to the company of the living.
That puts the very next line in a completely new light. Although the past is over, it just won't let me be.
They are framing the past as a bully, it won't let me be.
Yeah.
But based on the previous line, we now know they are fully complicit. They are the ones holding the door open for the bully because they just don't want to be alone in the room.
It is a fundamentally toxic relationship with their own memory.
And it's a loop. It's entirely circular. They blame the past for haunting them, but then they turn around and admit they need the company.
Which brings us right back to the music. That loop is running endlessly at 106 beats per minute. It's a treadmill.
And they can't get off.
Now, structurally, we hit the bridge. And in a country song, the bridge is usually where you raise the stakes or offer some kind of new perspective. What exactly is happening here?
The narrator starts listing out their resilience. They say, I can take the summer, I can take cold winter days.
Which is really interesting because remember back in verse 1, they said they hated autumn specifically because winter was coming. But now they claim they can take the cold winter days.
Right. They're saying they can handle the physical extremes, they can handle the blistering heat, they can handle the freezing cold. Those are just physical hardships. They're saying, I can survive the elements, I'm tough. But when the wind begins to blow, your voice carries me away.
It's their kryptonite. They're heavily armored against temperature and seasons, but they have zero defense against the simple movement of air.
And notice the verb choice there. Carries me away.
It's a total loss of autonomy.
Completely. When the wind blows, they are no longer in the driver's seat. They are physically transported. It goes right back to what we said in the intro about the sensory trigger that just bypasses all logic. They are carried away into the memory.
And right here on the sheet, the lyrics just stop for a moment, and we see the structural notation in brackets. Guitar solo.
Now, obviously, we cannot hear the solo on this PDF. We just have the text. But narrative-wise, why put it exactly there?
Usually I'd say it's just a convention of the genre. A little filler for the band to show off before the final chorus.
But in this specific context, think about what just happened. The narrator literally just said, your voice carries me away. The lyrics actually have to stop there.
Oh, wow. Because the narrator has left the building.
Exactly. The solo represents the actual time spent away.
That is brilliant.
The solo is the hallucination. It is the literal voice in the wind. Words fail, logic completely fails, and we just drift into pure sound. That guitar solo is the audible representation of being completely lost in the memory. It's the period of time where they were just standing there listening to the breeze.
That is such a fascinating way to look at instrumental breaks. It's not a pause in the story. It's the subtext completely taking over.
And when that solo finally ends, where do we land?
We crash right back into the chorus.
The repetition. We're right back to the central question.
Why do you call to me through the rhythm of the breeze?
And look at the outro on the sheet. It doesn't fade out on any kind of resolution. It doesn't end with a neat little bow like, and now I'm saying goodbye, or I'm putting your picture away in a drawer.
Not at all. It just repeats the question one last time.
Why do you call to me?
And then silence.
Or strictly speaking, the song itself ends, but that beat, that 106 BPM, it just keeps going in your head.
Because there is no answer provided?
No answer at all. And that is the true tragedy of the structure here. Misty Flowers didn't write a third verse where the narrator visits the grave and finally finds peace.
Right.
She didn't write a bridge where they meet someone new and learn to love again. She intentionally left them stuck in the loop.
The wind is still blowing. The leaves are still budding.
And the heart is still refusing to sit at ease.
It really challenges the whole modern idea of closure, doesn't it? We absolutely love to talk about closure in our culture. I need closure. I just need to move on.
Yeah.
But this song suggests that maybe closure is just a myth.
Or, at the very least, it suggests that nature fundamentally does not care about your need for closure.
Wow, yeah.
The seasons are going to keep cycling, whether you like it or not. The wind is going to keep blowing. If you have tied your deepest grief to the weather itself, you are essentially subjecting yourself to a lifetime of unavoidable reminders. You have literally wired your sadness directly into the atmosphere.
Which brings us right back to that mission we started with. Trying to find the steady beat of memory in this text.
And it turns out that steady beat is not comforting. It's relentless.
It's the walking pace that just walks right over you.
Looking at this whole picture, the upbeat tempo, the bright major key, the completely devastating lyrics, it reminds me of that old music adage. Sad music makes you feel better, but happy music with sad lyrics makes you feel seen.
Because that is what real life actually feels like.
Right. Life does not stop and play a slow, mournful cello solo every single time you feel sad. The world just keeps rushing by at 106 BPM.
Yeah.
You still have to buy groceries. You still have to commute to work. You have to sit there and pretend you're actively listening in the Tuesday morning meeting. Rhythm of the Breeze perfectly captures that terrible friction between the world moving fast and your own heart being completely stuck.
It is the literal soundtrack to Smiling Through the Pain.
Exactly. It is the camouflage of the high-functioning griever. You're tapping your foot, you're moving along, so everyone around you thinks you're perfectly fine. But inside, you are actually having a desperate conversation with a ghost.
So we have stripped this document all the way down from the technical specs to its psychological core. We've got a narrator who hates spring, who hears actual breathing in the wind, and who is trapped in a catchy, upbeat nightmare of their own making.
A nightmare they are terrified to wake up from because they, quote, need the company.
And that brings me to the provocative thought I want to leave everyone with today.
Yeah.
We have spent this entire deep dive analyzing the narrator's complaint. They just keep asking why. Why do you call me? Why won't you let me be?
It definitely sounds like a plea for relief, at least on the surface.
It really does. But look at the evidence we've uncovered in the text. They openly admit they need the company. They admit the past is the only thing that feels real to them anymore. So here's the question you have to ask yourself. Is the narrator actually asking the breeze to stop?
Or
is the terrified subtext of this entire song that they're actually scared to death of the day the wind blows and they don't hear the voice?
Oh, that is the ultimate fear, the second death. The exact moment the memory finally starts to fade.
Exactly. If the haunting stops, they are truly permanently alone. And I think that 106 BPM tempo isn't just representing daily anxiety. It is the sound of someone running as fast as they possibly can to keep up with the ghost, just to make sure it is still there.
That casts the entire lyric sheet in a completely different light. It's not a complaint at all. It's a desperate, frantic attempt to keep the connection alive.
It is definitely something to think about the next time a song makes you tap your foot while completely breaking your heart.
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We'll see you on the next one.